my eyes are on the speaker.
Tell me why. Because that looks fantastic.
French grammar is hardly the most exciting subject with which to win the hearts and minds of Year 8 students.
Bon weekend. Oui.
But today, John Bailey is visiting award-winning AST languages teacher Helene Tulajewski at Twynham School in Christchurch, who brings her subject alive with an imaginative and innovative approach.
Lisez le texte et décidez, c'est un niveau. Niveau 4, niveau 5, niveau 6. Pourquoi? Justifie ton choix. Vous avez 2 minutes avec ton partenaire. Parle.
In this lesson, the children are practicing their skills in the 3 main tenses.
OK, c'est un niveau quoi? Niveau 4, 5 ou 6? Niveau... OK, niveau 4, c'est fantastique. Exemple. Oui,
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle, exemple, superbe, je m'appelle. D'autres éléments, qu'est-ce qu'il y a encore? Il y a des...
Connecteurs.
Il y a des connecteurs, bien, il y a des connecteurs. Exemple. Oui. Aussi, bravo. Encore 2 éléments de niveau 4. Oui.
Like who they're with, they don't really...
Superbe.
I've watched you teach 2 lessons now, and I haven't seen a textbook anywhere. So these materials, do you make them?
I make them. I don't use a textbook. I will look at the textbook. I will follow the curriculum, our scheme of work based on the textbooks. I will make sure that I get the ideas, but then I develop my own activities to suit my students, to suit their needs, the way they learn, make sure it's interactive. French is meant to be spoken, not textbook work. Qui va me donner un exemple d'activité à la forme négative? Ici, des activités.
Je ne joue pas aux cartes.
Je ne joue pas aux
cartes.
Cartes, oui. Merci beaucoup. And in the textbook, what I can't find sometimes is complex opinions in Year 8. It's far too basic. I can see some c'est nul or c'est barbant. So I write my own text to make sure that I get these complex opinions in, which is more interesting than a PowerPoint presentation, because students are just mere spectators of a PowerPoint presentations. It's not interactive.
So really there's 2 teachers in the room at least, because there's you and the materials that you've prepared.
Yes. Alors, regardez les objectifs pour aujourd'hui. Les vacances de Madame T pour réviser le futur. On va utiliser les informations pour écrire un texte au niveau 6. Regardez les objectifs. Comment dit-on les objectifs? Parle. Vous avez, allez, 10 secondes.
Revise the future tense.
The information, writing a text for level 6.
Why is it a good idea for them to be discussing the objectives and then telling you what the objectives are?
I display the objectives in French. I think it's a very good... So they listen to a pronunciation when I read the objectives, and also they talk about the objectives together, and it's a nice little reading translation exercise. So, and they talk about the objectives, so they know themselves what they're doing. How can I make this a level 6, then? How can I... write a text at level 6. Yes, Johnny?
Past and future.
Yes, we need to include the past tense and the future tense. C'est cool? Oui? OK. Qu'est-ce que c'est le passé? Étape 1, étape 2. Avec ton partenaire, parle de la formation du passé. Vous avez 2 minutes. Avec ton partenaire, parle.
There is... What's the LL?
I noticed that one of the things about doing a lot of paired exercises and having a lot of cues up on the whiteboard is it seems to give you a lot of time to go around working with individual students and with pairs of students.
I know that somebody is going to be paired up with somebody most slightly who understands French more, so they can, yes, they work nicely together. So I go around and I see if they're on track or they've got any problems, so I can help them. Tiens, bravo.
And then I will on. Is it EST or A?
If it's in the first list, what would you use? être or avoir for step 1?
Avoir. No,
Être.
Yeah.
So if it's être, it's il, elle, on.
no,
Et. Très bien. EST.
That pairing and your individual explanation, are they your main tools for differentiation?
Differentiation is by outcome. It's by the much they're going to say. Some will be able to stick to the task and some will be able to really fly with it and just give me lots of complex opinions, lots of different verbs within a sentence and connectives. Elle fait?
she went. She went.
No, no, elle fait? There's only one step. I can hear only elle a. When I plan a task, I make sure that, well, those who find it really hard, they have the support on the board. They know they have the support in their books. And those who find this really easy, don't you look at the board, don't look at the support in front of you. Talk to your partner using what you have, the French that you have in your head, and make sure you make it complex. 3, 2, 1, merci. OK. Numéro 1. How many steps of the past tense? Right? 2 steps. What do I need to check for the past tense?
Which list it's in?
Which list it's in. Now, if it is in the first list, what do I need to use for step 1? What do I need to use? Brit.
If it's je, then je suis.
Superbe. Je suis. Il, elle, on.
Est.
Superbe. Nous.
Some.
Excellent. Il, elle.
Some.
Excellent. Superbe. Bravo. And if it's not in the first list, what do I need to use for my step 1?
When you're talking about finding the past tense of a verb and the routine you go through, I'm very attracted to the idea that you're breaking stuff down in a way that's comprehensible to them. Are you able to describe your thinking process when you develop a list like this?
The past tense is quite tricky to teach, so I thought I've got to think of one way of teaching the past tense, break everything down so it's easier for the students to make sense of. So I put verbs, all the verbs taking être on one list, all the irregular verbs in a second list, and in the third list is the verbs that are all the regular verbs. So each time they have a verb in front of the infinitive, they should be able to locate it in either list 1, list 2, or neither list. They
Yes.
should be able to apply step 1 and then step 2. Therefore, they should be able to do the past tense. To go, aller, put it in the past tense.
It's a struggle, isn't it, to learn another language because you get the method in front of your eyes, but there's all sorts of cognitive interference that stops you from learning. So how do we drill it into children? How do we...
You drill it with different activities. Écoutez la musique. Passe, Rosie. Passe, Rosie. La musique, stop. Rosie, le groupe avec Rosie sélectionne un numéro et traduit la phrase. C'est cool? Ouais. Alors attention, on commence. Voilà, monsieur. OK, sélectionne un numéro. Sélectionne un numéro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2. She stayed in a hotel with a restaurant. If you repeat it a lot during your lesson and different activities, when they go home and they need to write something in the past tense, hopefully they will remember, oh, yes, is it in the first list? Is it in the second list?
She stayed.
If you do it very quickly, they'll understand. Maybe, yes, they'll understand, but then when you move on in the lesson, they won't remember. So it's just a question of repeating in class and with different activities and make sure that the activities are creative as well. Le groupe de Jack, volontaire? Vas-y.
Elle est restée dans un hôtel avec le restaurant.
Problème, petit problème. Vas-y. Oui.
Elle est restée dans un hôtel avec un restaurant.
Avec un restaurant, attention, avec le restaurant. With the restaurant, le restaurant, non, avec un restaurant. Bravo. They're working without realising it.
Okay.
There's an element of competition as well, and they like it.
And it allows you to introduce a number of repetitions into the lesson.
Yes.
After the game with Rosie, the children practice their future tense with a game of battleships.
Vas-y, tu voulais faire, Ben?
Il va
Ouais.
écouter de la musique.
Bravo, il va écouter de la musique. Je suis désolée. Ici, Sam.
Elle ne va pas aller en Italie.
Bravo, elle ne va pas aller en Italie. Superbe. Et tu as un bonbon également.
I think there have already been 6 episodes in this lesson. You keep up a pretty brisk pace, don't you?
Keep them occupied, so they won't have time to get bored. And if they don't get bored, they enjoy the lesson, they learn a lot. You don't give them a chance to misbehave or just to keep off task, because there's always something for them to do, always something for them to discuss, always something for them to think of. So there, yes, for an hour, in an hour, they've done a lot. S'il te plaît, Katie.
Elle va faire du camping.
Elle va faire ou elle va faire? Excellent. Elle va faire du camping? Non, je suis désolée. Bien, elle
It's the same kind of construction method of learning language that you've done before, and it keeps popping up in different guises.
Yes.
Okay, and the game, did you make this game?
I make this game, yes. Merci. Wow.
In the next lesson with Year 10s, John can see that Helene's rigour and structure and the fun and enjoyment are all evident as the children practice their skills for their oral exam.
Une question au présent avec une question au passé ou au futur. Alors, écrivez 2 questions, ok, de ton choix. Vous avez, allez, 1 minute, écrivez 2 questions.
So they're consolidating their learning, they're having to write the questions and use their tenses correctly and so on.
Correct. They've got all their support, they've got everything in front of them, and everything will be removed at the end of a lesson.
And I might have figured out my question, but yours might involve a whole number of problems I haven't yet solved.
Yes. Vous allez vous lever avec votre carte, relax, parle, et faites des dialogues.
Est-ce que tu as allé à l'école? À l'école, j'ai mangé à la cantine avec mes copains.
Aussi, j'ai regardé une vidéo.
And what I notice is, as this runs, they slowly relax and become more confident. And I guess that, and being prepared to take risks.
If they master that, they will get an excellent grade in their speaking exam. I want them to relax and be able to enjoy the language. And I think at one point, at the other end of the classroom, letting everybody speak.
Je vais au collège avec mes amis à 8h30. Je pense que c'est très amusant.
Could see their work answering each other's questions and giving elaborate answers. So I thought, they're doing the work. I was there doing nothing. I was admiring them. I was very pleased with what they were doing. Attention, ne regardez pas le support. Utilisez la tête, la mémoire. 5 minutes et stop. Concentration. Dan, 5 minutes.
What's the secret of being a successful language teacher?
Loving your subject, loving your students, being proud of her achievement, challenging them as well. You must do the homework. S'il te plaît, Marcus.
Il faut
Bien.
les devoirs.
Excellent. Alors encore.
Il faut faire les devoirs.
Excellent. Attention. Faire. Il faut faire les devoirs. They have to think of ways, manageable steps on how they can get there. And when they get there, it's the best feeling in the world.